The furious chant outside the Commons was eloquent testimony to what gay campaigners thought of the decision by MPs to lower the age of homosexual consent to 18, not, as they wanted, to 16.
Outside Parliament, gay rights demonstrators held a vigil during the debate, and when the compromise vote was reached, angry protesters tried to storm the building.
Homosexuelle auf 18 zu senken. Schwulengruppen demonstrierten dagegen, weil die Schutzgrenze für Heterosexuelle bei 16.
And with the result of the second vote for a compromise in the legal age for gay sex at 18 now a foregone conclusion, tempers frayed and the incitements to rush the Houses of Parliament grew more provocative. MPs emerged from the Commons, making their frustration plain.
A peaceful vigil turned to bad-tempered protest when news came through that the age of consent was to be lowered to 18 and not 16 as the campaigners had hoped.
Outside the Commons, several thousand gay rights campaigners had been making their presence felt throughout the debate. As they waited with some optimism outside, many MPs within felt that the arguments for 16 had won the day, until it came to the vote.
Hopes for a reduction to 16 were high. Defeat came as a bitter blow. When campaigners heard the news, some charged the entrance to the Commons. 5 men were remanded on bail on public order offences.
As angry demonstrations erupted outside the Commons after the vote last night, Will Parry, one of the gay men taking the age of consent issue to the European courts, was in tears. OutRage, the wing of the gay movement that advocates civil disobedience, says there'll be another march on Parliament next month in defiance of the law designed to provoke mass arrests.
The debate is by no means over, as angry scenes here have indicated. Gay rights campaigners are now looking to Europe, which they warn could now force Britain to lower the age of consent to 16, regardless of the vote at Westminster. Sean Jarvis, GMTV News.
Gay rights protesters tried to storm the Houses of Parliament after a bid to reduce the age to 16 was defeated. During the debate, they mounted a candlelit vigil outside.
Their demonstration had been peaceful and good-humoured, but they were insistent that compromise would not do, and that they wanted equality with the heterosexual age of consent.
Gay rights campaigners in London have been forcibly moved on tonight. They were trying to march to Parliament, but more than 250 police officers tried to stop 1,500 protesters from getting through. Scuffles broke out when the demonstrators laid down in the street. Tonight's march is being held in defiance of a police ban on demonstrations near the House of Commons.
The demonstrators in high spirits marched on Parliament to lobby MPs in their fight to have the age of consent for gays reduced to 16. The march of about 1,500 protesters had been billed as a campaign of civil disobedience. When the police blocked the route on Haymarket, the campaigners sat down, blocking one side of the road, then moved to shut the road off completely. But the police did not carry out mass arrests as the demonstrators had expected. Only one person has been charged and one arrested with obstruction. Instead, the two sides negotiated a peaceful solution and the crowd was moved in small numbers to the Commons.
We have successfully negotiated with the police to allow us to proceed to Parliament to lobby MPs.
Well, we don't have to arrest them. We have that discretion. There was no violence caused. They merely sat down, blocked the vehicles that were coming down on the West Footway. We picked them up, moved them back into the crowd. It's quite easy. It saved everyone problems.
The demonstration now plans to voice protest about an adjournment debate inside the House, which is calling for the new age of consent legislation to be vigorously enforced. Alison Jacks, Sky News.
Gay rights campaigners tonight failed to stage a mass march on Parliament. Protesters were bodily removed from the Haymarket, but only one arrest was made. They were angry at last month's Commons vote to reduce the age of consent for homosexuals to 18 rather than 16. Christopher Peacock reports.
It's becoming a way of life for gay activists, demonstrating on the streets of London in support of consent at 16.
Equality! Now!
This was the scene in the Haymarket as 2,000 gays gathered to march on Parliament.
We are fed up with being treated as second-class citizens. Sometimes it is necessary to break the law in order to ensure that legal rights are extended to citizens who are denied equality.
But the police were determined to stop the march and quickly moved in to break it up. Tempers flared as police were under orders not to allow a repeat of the attempt to storm the House of Commons 3 weeks ago when the vote for gay consent at 16 was lost.
They said they'd march on Parliament. Clearly that has implications for us, and we've tried to deal with this as best we can tonight by allowing them to go there, but in a dignified form and not a mass march through the streets of London.
The police struck a compromise, letting the demonstrators through in small groups to lobby MPs at Westminster. In central London, this is Christopher Peacock for London Tonight.